Hello, my friends. Very important today. I'm going to go back into cancer, and I make a statement during this video that cancer is from the invasion of the membranes, and I believe that is primarily the case for most cases of cancer. And I say that the genes are not the cause of the cancer; that the cancer causes the genes to change. Well, I do believe that in many cases, because the genes will be affected. The genes will create products to fight against the cancer. Now, there are going to be cases, yes, where the gene is just defective right out of the box. It's just not right. And it does not produce the things in the body that create the things that make you healthy. However, I think that is the exception, not the rule. And here's what they say: cancer is genetic disease. Now let's talk about the whole thing, because I think there's a way to see what can invade you and how can we protect and how can we create barriers against these invasions. Okay, my friends, this is kind of important. Today I'm going very deep into the association between the mucous membranes in the body and the invasion of cancerous tumors and so forth, and yeast infections and candidus and all that stuff attacking the vital tissues of the body. Then the body fighting back against these invaders because there's breaches in the mucous membranes, because the mucous membranes contain what they call microvilli. And microvilli are little tiny pockets that are embedded, and they're everywhere in these membranes. And in these pockets grow bacteria that produces this goo, the mucus. There's colonies that work together in there to produce the goo, and they do it instantaneously. If something attacks you, you just all that stuff just gushes out. But if those things are dead or weak or in trouble, you have trouble. So, speaking of that, I've done some videos about the mucous membranes, and my anatomist friend Gil Headley, who did the work on the Mudfossils with me, and has virtually certified everything I'm saying about the Mudfossils. He agreed 100%, and he is one of the top anatomists in the world. I don't care what anybody says. This guy is a master. And he has shown me things that I have found in the Mudfossils and could not explain, and he could help me, and he did. And he understands fascia better than anybody else in the world, because he is literally in it. He's so articulate at this. It's absolutely incredible. Now, what we have to take away from this is I continue to go deeper and deeper and try to figure out what affects this mucus. What is the fact? Why is it good? Why is it bad? What happens? Well, it basically boils down to the things that are in your digestive system. And basically, antibiotics are going to kill these bacteria. They're going to kill them. They're going to have devastating impacts. Now, if you can't reconstruct them and get them back into a working condition and spewing out this mucus, you're defenseless. You're defenseless. You have no way to protect your areas in your body that are exposed to toxins. There's all kinds of toxins in your body. There's uric acids, and there's ammonias, and there's salts, and all kinds of things that are going on, and toxins and juices and enzymes that are being produced that are supposed to do things, and they do what they're supposed to do, but you can't put battery acid into your pillowcase at night and sleep on it. No, you can't do that. It's not going to work. And this is what's happening. People don't have any protection against the things that are in their body that just are supposed to be there, but they will eat through into the vital tissues, and then everything else can fall through there, will fall through, and then your body will try to attack back at it, and that's called an autoimmune disorder, and they think your body's just fighting back against itself, but it's fighting because there's an invasion. And these mucous membranes are so thin that nobody even knows they're there. Gills find them one right after the other. And I know they're there in copious amounts because of the mud fossils. There's layer after layer after layer after layer. So, it all started from the mud fossils. Gil has helped me with this, and I'm hoping that I need someone that can do this particular set of experiments on human tissue and expose it not to these things that they're exposing it to, but to different bacteria and different toxins that are in the body, and see how it attacks. Like, pancreatic juices. How do they attack the mucous membranes? And what happens when they get into the bloodstream? They did exactly what needs to be done here, but they were testing for these indigestible polysaccharides, which for calcium absorption, and they're talking about the luminal side and the bassiola side, isolated preparations. They're working with rat intestines, basically. I'll try to cut to the chase on this because there's a lot of technicality here. But if you come down here, so I don't need to go through all this business with you, but let's just come right down to, they're talking about tissue preparations. Now, the serosal and mucosal side of the segments. In other words, they took and they stripped out these 5 or 6 different areas in the intestinal areas. There's a certain area where it first comes out of your stomach, and it gets, because it's coming out with acid. It's loaded with acid. So obviously, you've got to do something to protect yourself from that. So you are going to have all kinds of mucus down there that is going to protect you from that. And additionally, there's going to be an infusion of a buffering agent, which lowers the pH or brings the pH up to a more body solution instead of acid. So what about that now? So at this point, you have to be able to protect yourself with mucus and membranes and keep that stuff away from your what they call the serosal area here. See, serosal area, that's the where you have your blood. And the other side is the mucosal side. So what is getting through from the mucosal side to the blood side? That's the problem. That's what I want to see. And I want to see what different bacteria on the mucosal side protect you and keep things from getting into the serosal side, which might be toxins from your pancreas, from your bile ducts, from all the different things that give you cancer. Everything gives you cancer. And it gives you cancer because I think, and Gil also agrees now, that they said in Munich, not Munich, in Berlin, he was in Berlin, Germany, in a conference recently, where they said these membranes are something like a highway to an invasion or something like that. Because these membranes are all under attack now by the things that are put into our body, specifically the antibiotics, because once you kill the bacteria in that membrane, the membrane no longer can protect itself. It's a dead piece of goo that's just laying there, and something's going to come up and say, well, you're supposed to produce mucus to stop me. He said, I don't have any bacteria living here to do it anymore. So, oh, good, I'm coming through, right in. And you'll go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you'll get weaker and weaker and weaker and chronic and chronic and chronic and unhealthier, and then you get cancer. And so what I want, why can't they test that? This is 20 years ago this was done. That's 20 years ago. Now, why can't they test these for, I mean, it's fine to do it for the calcium, but there's also a whole batch of other reasons you would do it. It's very detailed how these things absorbed, and well, let me see if I can find. There's a couple of things that are really interesting. Hold on. All right, now this is just incredible that these things fit together the way they do. When they say indigestible saccharides, well, what is an indigestible saccharide? It's an indigestible carbohydrate. Now, what is an indigestible carbohydrate? It's something that has fiber in it that your body can't absorb. It can't absorb it, but it is good for you. It's important for your mucous membranes. Now, what do you take that is like that? That's metamucil. That's the kind of stuff. It's this fibrous stuff. Now, this is 20 years ago they were doing this research. All right, so here they are. indigestible saccharides they tested, and then they go through the different types, and they tested 6 different ones, and to see what their effect would be on this calcium absorption. And it was substantial. I mean, it was very substantial. Let me see if I can find the figures. Hold on. All right, so here's the bottom line on these saccharides and what they do. And they wanted to see, would they help? You can't digest them, so they figured, well, you just take them in, they don't do anything for you. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Let's see what they came up with. Excuse me. Various types of indigestible saccharides, these are those fibers you can't digest, directly affect the epithelium of both the small and large intestine of rats, enhanced net calcium transport from the lumen to the basal side in vitro. All this is saying is that these particular fibers helped to increase the transport of calcium, which is a good thing. And the threshold concentration required to increase the calcium absorption differed among the portions of the intestine examined. So they had like 5 or 6 different pieces of the intestine which have different characteristics. They absorb different things in different places. They have to have different protective mechanisms in different areas because there's more acids in one place than another, and so forth. So, the effectiveness of each saccharoid enhancing calcium absorption different among each portion tested. So that's obvious. Now, in vivo, that means inside balance tests in rats, ingestion of indigestible carbohydrates has been shown to result in an increase in calcium absorption. That's good. Microbial fermentation, the little microbes eat and they turn it into they ferment it. Just like they ferment beer and things like that in the cecum, which is part of your intestine, is considered to be important for transepithelial transport of calcium in the large intestine. That means right through your tissue of the intestine. Some studies have suggested that the decrease in pH caused by organic acids produced from indigestible sugars changes the solubility of calcium. So it makes it more soluble or less soluble, I don't know. And that this is responsible for the enhancement of calcium absorption. So they're suggesting that. Nobody knows that for sure. Have suggested. Thus, indigestible saccharides can promote calcium absorption directly. This is what their conclusion is, through the saccharide itself, maybe, and indirectly through the organic acids that are produced from that saccharide in the large intestine. These are this is chemistry in your body. It's not that well understood, I don't think. This is 20 years ago. And right now, the last conference Gil was just at in Berlin, Germany, they are realizing how important these membranes are and how this mucus is developed within these tiny little pockets that are they're like sweat glands inside your your tissues, all inside your body. You have to be separated from everything else by a layer of goo and tissues. It's like a rubber bag. Everything's in its own little rubber bag. And once you break holes in it, then you are in trouble. And then you're going to be sick. You may not die right away. You may not get terribly ill. You may just be tired. You may just have skin issues and hair conditions and fingernails and who knows what you're going to have. But you're going to have issues related to an invasion of your body. And a lot of times it's almost always this type of issue is going to be related to something where your digestive system is not working correctly. And you may not know your digestive system is working correctly or not. And really, the only way we will ever know any of these things is to have a database that says, on an average human being, the average healthy human being doesn't report any problems, has this much type of this kind of bacteria, and this one, and this one, and this one, and there's thousands. There's at least 1,000. What kind of metals do they have in their body? What kind of salts do they have in their body? All these transition metals. Every single one of them does something. And don't tell me they're just banging around. Like hell they are. They are there to transport something that's called metal complexes. All right? These little metal complexes, these metals are transition metals. That means they can hold on with one electron, like a little fingernail. Say, give me a little fingernail, I'm going to carry you down to the toes. And he said, what are we going to do when we get down there? He said, another guy's going to want you more than I want you. He's going to come along with an electron. And he's going to say, hey, come here. Come here, little girl, you want some electrons? And you're going to go. And that's what's going to happen. And then I'm going to come back and pick you up after he kicks you to the corner. I'll bring you back to the lungs and blow you out in the air, and then we'll get another one of you. That's what's happening. I mean, it's a kind of a silly explanation, but it is the case that's going on here. We need to fix the mucus. I mean, you're protected. Goo is your life, and if you don't have that goo going on, you've got a lot of problems. They should retest this with bacteria and the kind of things like this glucose. This is they're talking about glucanase or whatever it is that woman from MIT said is no good for the body. Well, I don't think it is good for the body, no. But I don't know if it's going to cause a problem that well, I'd like to see what it does. Let me put it that way. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know how these things are going to react. Nobody else does either. So if you don't do the test, and the kind of money they spend to do the kind of research they do, I don't know what they're doing with it. I got to be honest with you. I don't think there's that, well, let me put it this way. I know what they are doing with it. They're trying to figure everything out based on genetics. And when I looked up the National Cancer Institute, I think it was a big cancer place. Everything's caused by genetics. Cancer is all genetics. I'll see if I can find out now. All right, here's my issue. How cancer arises. Cancer is a genetic disease. Well, I can also agree with that to some degree, but not the way they say it. They say it is caused by changes to genes that control the way our body cells function and especially how they grow and divide. I say it's exactly the opposite. I say the body is being invaded. That alerts the genes to change to create some form of defense. And it is defending itself the best it can. Even though you think, oh, I'm getting cancer, I'm dying. The body is saying, I'm doing the best I can to defend you. You are in so much trouble you don't know because you have no defenses. I'm trying, but I can't defend you. You have to have your bacteria to defend you. You have to have your mucus. You have to have your membranes intact to defend you, and I cannot help you. So I'm going to try to plug that thing up with some gigantic glob of stuff that'll just grow to take over what you are missing. All right, and then they go out of control, yes, but it's more than just your body attacking your body. Your body is being attacked, I believe. But why can't we test these things? This is what I want to know. Why can't we find out what is the things in your body that protect you from these things? Because there's no question whatsoever, 100% certainty, 100% that is in the bacteria in your stomach and in your gut that proliferates everywhere in your body has a function, and if it's not there, that function will not be accomplished. It's not going to happen. And so what is that function? Well, everything in your body is so completely different, the parts of your body. And these functions are so completely, perfectly orchestrated that if you miss one or two or three, you could still live, but you're going to be hurt, and you're going to be sick, you're going to be chronically ill, you're going to be unhappy. And I'll show you how specific the human body is. Watch. This is an opalized heart. It's a heart. And these are mud fossils. And mud fossils are body parts and bodies, little full bodies, that have been preserved in a process that I understand and I call mud fossilization. And I understand, I've even made them in my own lab, there's no question whatsoever. And the anatomist, Gil Headley, agrees, there's no question. And I've had them DNA certified by Helix Biolabs and Eaton Industries. And I've also had them a CAT scan. So it's not like there's any issue to be talked about. Now, you see these different colors? These different colors are transition metals. Transition metals are so important in your body, and people have no, well, I don't know, maybe they have a clue, but they consider these are transition metals, are what they call trace elements. There's all these trace elements just laying around your body. It's accidentally they get in there because you eat stuff on the ground that has these things in them. No, no. These things are trace elements that are so critical. Why do you think this is all that same color? Why do you think this is all that same color? Why do you think there's all these different colors inside the blood? Those are the metals. These are the transition metals that are in your blood. They flow through your blood carrying things. These are the delivery guys. They also construct different types of tissues. Let me ask you something. I just talked about mucous membranes and about separating layers of this and that from other things. You think that blue stuff is supposed to be in with the red? Obviously not. You think this layer right here, this exact perfect separation, is supposed to be in with this blue? No. All right? Do you see all these different layers of separations? Every single one of those is separated by a membrane. It's a membrane. They're membranes. And some of them will have like 10 or 20 or 30 different layers of membranes there because they have to keep away acids from getting into these other very different types of tissues. If the acids burn through and get into your heartstrings, your heart's going to go instead of going, you're going to have all kind of problems. It's so critical, this stuff, and the mucous membranes. Every single cell in your body has a membrane around it. So that's the most. I mean, that is the most critical thing in your whole body is your membranes. So anyway, I suppose that's about as deep as I can get into mucus. All right, I'm going to leave it at this. I sent this off to these people that did this research. I said, I'm researching the mucous membrane barrier right now, and there is these microvilli pockets. They know this, I'm certain, and that the bacterial colonies live in to protect you. And they are certain colonies in certain areas. They're not just all the same bacteria, I don't think, but I don't know that for a fact. But if these bacteria are not there, you're going to have invasions. They're going to breach these bacteria, these layers, because there's no mucus. They are the ones that produce the mucus. The toxic substance in our own system, like pancreatic juices, kidneys, they're going to attack us if these things aren't there, and they will inflame those tissues. We'll be chronically ill, and then we'll get cancer probably. So, what does that mean? My question to him is, would it be possible to design an experiment to test what bacteria protect against our own body chemistry? Because these are where you get into pancreatic cancer, intestinal cancers, colon cancer, liver, every single organ gets a cancer because it's being invaded by the organic membrane that's supposed to protect it. That's my saying. No, I don't know, I could be wrong. But why don't we test and see what bacteria, let's say, here's the deal. You see what bacteria is on the surface that keeps from these certain specific toxins from invading, bile and kidney juices and all these kind of things that have a serious chemistry to them. They have to be kept away from other tissues. We could test this. We could say, okay, if we put that specific bile juice on this specific tissue, it eats right through there unless we have this specific bacteria. This is going to be as simple as that. I'm serious. It is not that hard. So there's a lot of people that are not sick, but there's a lot of people that are, and I'm saying that most of the time it's going to be your digestive system. That's what I'm finding out. I've been looking into this pretty deep. Now, I know I'm not a doctor, but that's the reason I'm able to do this and be able to not be attacked for doing it. Of course, I am attacked for doing everything I do, but I don't really care. This is, nobody can fire me. You want to talk to my boss? Wait a second, I'll get my wife. All right, that's it for today.